Daniel. I'm Daniel. We're here with Narek Vardanyan from prelaunch.com and Nikola from nAO.Design. You have an amazing webinar coming up about how to take your product idea from validated concept to serial production. Let's just wait a little bit for more people to join. If you want, just leave in the comments. There's a chat down the bottom. You can always ask questions. We'll be monitoring those and asking Narek and Nikola questions as we go. And also, I mean, if you guys want to introduce yourselves now, how did you find out about the webinar? What products are you working on? What ideas do you have? What stage are you at? Just let us know in the chat, get the conversation going. For those of you who don't know, I guess we can introduce Prelaunch. Prelaunch is a product validation platform that allows inventors, creators, entrepreneurs, product designers, others, anybody who has an idea to validate these product concepts before wasting time on prototyping, marketing, manufacturing, making sure that you know it's going to work. Lets you understand if there's demand for your products, helps you find the best pricing, and build a community of early supporters. Hello, Lucy. And yeah, once your product is validated, that's where Nikola and nAO.Design step in. Over the last 10 years, they've helped design and manufacture 35 different products. Did I get that right? 35 different products, shipping over 3 million units to end users. Speakers, cameras, watches, they've done it all. And they help creators like you through the whole development cycle, from ideas and patents to designing, prototyping, engineering, tests, tooling. But Nikola will get into all of that in more detail. So yeah, for those of you who just joined, we're here with Narek from Prelaunch, Nikola from nAO.Design. We're going to be exploring how to take your product idea from validated concept to serial production. Hey, Jim. Hey, Albert. We'd love to get to know you. So, just pop into the chat. Let us know who you are while we wait to start. Hey, Chippy. Hey, Jim. Yeah, introduce yourselves. What are you guys working on? What ideas are you coming up with? What are you planning on validating in the coming months? What do you think? Give it another minute?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Voice toys. I wonder what those are.
Oh, I can maybe spoil it a bit. Maybe for some other time. But very, very interesting product, I have to say.
Okay, great. Hey, Pete. Thanks for introducing yourself. Mirist. Nice. A glass aromatherapy diffuser. Sounds interesting. Okay, Narek, what do you think? Take it away. Narek from Prelaunch.
Yeah.
Okay, can you share your screen?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Really, really nice having you all in this webinar. Hope we'll make it useful. Let me just jump right to the webinar, to sharing my screen. 1 second. So today we're gonna speak about the validation. Actually, I named my presentation discover if your ideas are shower thoughts or moonshots, because everybody is having shower, everybody's having great thoughts. Not all of them are that great as they might seem to in the beginning or in the shower, but some of them might be really great. So how you can really understand which ones are shower thoughts and you need to let them go, and which ones are really moonshots which you need to follow them thoroughly and strategically to pursue them and make them like big businesses. So let's start. So look at these two campaigns. Look at these two products. On the left side, we have Raven. It's a motorcycle helmet. It has camera which records front and rear. It has this AR screen which shows the road. You can connect with other motorcycles, with other riders, and it has a lot of cool stuff. On the right side, we have Blank Mask, which is a mask. It doesn't have any functionality besides covering all your face. It's designed for keeping your privacy, to not get caught up under the cameras. And now a question, just write on the chat box which of these products was more successful. So one is Raven and second is Blank Mask. So let me see. Okay. Raven. No star Raven. So the reality is that the Blank Mask was more successful than Raven. Unfortunately, Raven didn't make it. They couldn't manage to get enough sales. They did only $100,000 within the first months of their introduction, launch into the market. And due to no demand, they went out of the market. And on the contrary, Blank Mask, which might seem like really strange, did about five times more sales in the first month, built a really interesting brand, and is doing pretty well currently. So we're going to speak about the validation, how to understand, how to validate the products at an early stage, and how to be aware of the route that Raven took, and how to make sure that you're doing good. So it's me, Narek. I'm the founder and CEO of prelaunch.com. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I founded a couple of other companies, TCF, which is one of the top crowdfunding and e-commerce marketing agencies. We have acquired media companies and all in consumer hardware. And this is me in seven years ago. I was like a prediction guru. I had a couple of successful companies, and everybody who had an idea was approaching to me and like asking, what do you think about my product? So what do you think? I have this idea. You're a successful guy. What do you think? Is it a good idea or not? And I was doing a lot of predictions, and I was like giving a lot of estimates. Oh, this is a good idea, or it's not good idea. Like, stop it, do it. It's really great, etc., etc. And I realized that a lot of my predictions were wrong, and a lot of successes that I was predicting were not doing like really well, and a lot of companies that I was throwing to trash were raising millions of dollars. And the reason that all those predictions were bad was that market was really unpredictable, which I realized later on, and became this. Now this is me, a data guy, and literally every time I hear an idea and somebody asks me, what do you think about this? I say, I don't know. And even if I think that this is a really bad idea, I don't say it, and I try to force myself also to not think like that, because I've seen many things within these past 4 or 5 years. We have been probably validated more than 400 or 500 concepts, ideas, and I've seen that it can be really surprising. So now this is me, and every time I say, let's check, let's see on the data, and check whether it's a good idea or not. And today I'm gonna like walk you through the process on how we're working, what kind of data we're checking, what kind of outcome you can squeeze from this data, and basically how much data you can get at an early stage without investing too much into the production. So we're going to cover like how to measure the market interest, how to find your customers, how to understand how much they're going to pay, some survey questions, etc., etc. So before diving in deep into all these processes, let's first go over the things which you shouldn't do, because this is the first thing that typically a lot of creators, especially the first-time creators, are doing whenever they have an idea. They go to their friends, to their colleagues, and asks, would you buy this if I produce it? Like, I have this crazy idea, I have this design, look at it, and would you buy it if I produce it? So this is the worst thing you could do, because typically people don't do what they say, and relying on opinions is really, really very risky. I've seen many creators, many innovative people, believe me, like burning out a lot of cash on ideas which just didn't make sense for their customers. So just know that opinions are risky. People don't do what they say, and instead we need to turn this question into, like, flip it around and turn the will you buy it if we produce it into if you buy this, we're going to produce this. Okay, so this is the overall, the baseline, the fundamental kind of baseline of all my presentation today. And the thing is that you need to measure their behavior. So instead of their opinions, you need to measure their behavior, and only with that you can get enough confidence and enough data to understand how well you're doing at an early stage. So what you can do, one way that you can do is this fake door testing. This is a concept that many creators are doing. So basically the idea is to create a landing page, put your products in, and then drive traffic and see whoever is buying. Then you typically refund the buyers, and based on that you understand how well you're doing at an early stage. It's a very widespread concept. Many people are doing it, but there are some problems with that, because whenever customers are refunded, they feel disappointed after getting immediate refund, and brands' image suffer from this fake e-commerce kind of store, because then customers realize that it was not real, it was fake. You can't really establish relationship with the customers and learn from them. And also you don't know the industry metrics. So you can get some conversions, but you don't really know whether they make sense or not. So I don't really advise you to do a fake door testing. Instead, I really advise you to do pre-launching, whether you use prelaunch.com or you use it on your own website. Like, pre-launching is a kind of concept that we are advocating because it's very transparent and it allows you to meet your customers at an early stage, get some reservation, like you ask them for a small amount of reservation. And this way they have the skin in the game, and then you have a really behavioral data to understand how well you're doing at an early stage. So instead of meeting them at a last stages of this route of your product roadmap, you try to meet them as early as possible. And basically that's why we created pre-launch, prelaunch.com. I'm going to share a lot of processes that we do on prelaunch.com, but you can take it and it's up to you. If you want to use it on pre-launch, it's integrated. It's all in one platform in there. But like the main fundamental things that I'd like you to take it from your presentation is the models and the processes. So the way it works is this, like we have this 2-page validation campaign. So on the first page, we showcase the idea, the concept of the product, the very high level idea. So don't put too much information in here. And then we drive traffic to these landing pages. And then we incentivize people to subscribe to learn more by leaving their emails. So this way we get signals that people are interested into the product, okay? On the second page, we showcase some more data, more ideas, and tell them that here's the price of it, like $89. And if you put down $10 reservation deposit, you'll get a $40 discount. So you'll lock this price. And if this product is ever produced, you're getting it at a discount. This way, it makes it very transparent. And on pre-launch, people, if for some reason they change their mind, they can come and cancel it and they'll receive a full refund. And also, if the creator decides to not move on with the production, all the customers know it beforehand, they all receive a full refund. So nobody loses any money in here. So if they, in here, one thing that I highly recommend you to do is that we have this no thanks survey. So if for some reason people don't want to proceed, we're sending them surveys asking like why you didn't want to proceed. What was like, what stopped you? Was it the price? Was it did you need some more information, etc.? And then when people put the reservation deposit, then we incentivize them to ask some of the questions, like why you did this reservation, what was your main motivation, etc., etc. So this is when they are mostly excited, and you need to capture it right away. Then on the pre-launch dashboard, we see the metrics, and most importantly, we see the comparisons. With this, we see the benchmarks on how well you're doing on the concept stage, how well you're doing on the price stage. So you need to increase your price, increase it, decrease it to understand how well you're doing, understand the insights, etc., etc. So like it's really about two things, I would say. In here we have three things, but like two things are really important. And from the pre-launch validation, you can basically understand how well you're doing in the market, like what's your product performance, forecast product performance, and also who your customers are, like product performance and the customers. These are the two main things you could learn. And also we have really cool tools like AI competitor research, where you can understand on what people are thinking about your competitors, the market, etc. And this really works like a superpower, I can tell you, because in the past couple of years, we helped about 200 products to not launch into the market. And that's a figure that we are particularly proud of, because for some reason, the data didn't make any sense. And we had about 50 products which successfully launched and did very successful launches. We also had about 10 products which the pre-launch score was really bad, but they didn't hear us and they launched it anyway, and they kind of failed it. That's unfortunate, but yeah, that happens. So these are some of the answers that you could expect to get from this validation process. So you do this subscription, reservation, and then survey, right? So it's kind of three-step process. So you could understand, does the technology have a potential? Like you could understand from the metrics, are you doing good or bad? Is there any potential or not? What are the use cases? In many cases, we have inventors where they have this groundbreaking technology, but they don't know the use case. Will they, like what will be the use cases that people will be using it? Who are the customers? Like, are they early adopters, late adopters? Like, who are your customer persona, basically? Like the price testing, one of the most important areas. What should be your price? Like most equilibrium price you need to price on. So those four fundamental answers you could expect from all this process. So some of the metrics that we really measure, and they're very simple, and you can do it on your own as well, is the subscription rate. So that's for validating the concepts. So whenever people are putting down their emails, it means they're basically interested. The reservation rate, this is their willingness to pay. This is when they are putting down actual money. So that beats everything out there. Whenever they're putting actual money, that's their real purchase intent. And that's the main validation for pricing. The sensitivity ratio, we test some complex ratios, such as sensitivity ratio, like we increase the deposit from $1 to $10 to see how it impacts to the overall performance of the metrics. And these kind of metrics give us a sense on how durable and confident your launch can be, okay? We also have this pre-launch score, which is an accumulation of 35 different metrics. Like we capture anything that is somehow related with the purchase intent, like how much time people spent on the website, how much they scroll, how many comments they make, etc., etc. So anything that people do, any behavior is a kind of signal to us and to you that you can use it to understand how well you're doing at an early stage. So some of the questions that might help you to conduct your surveys that are really helpful and successful. So you need to ask them, like, what did you like the most about the product? And you're getting like pretty much the main thing on why they basically did the reservation. What similar products did you own before the product? This helps you to understand who your competitors are. And believe me, in many cases, there can be very indirect competitors that you're not aware of. What feature would you like to see to your product? So this way you're getting recommendation on how to improve it. On what purpose do you plan using the product? These are the use cases which are really very powerful. So they understand, they give you an insights on how to position your product, how to do the messaging, and who are your target customers. And if you have any other comments on the product, like just leave openly a place for people who want to share some more info. So after these surveys, we call it the co-creation labs. We engage some of the most active customers on board, and we tell them that now we're co-creating the products with the creators, right? And it's really helpful because they feel it's very important. They feel this value where you ask their questions, so that you become kind of team with your potential customers at an early stage. And believe me, people are ready to come to share a lot of data, a lot of information just for free. And I'm jokingly sometimes saying that in a conventional surveys, you go and pay people to tell their opinions. In pre-launching, people are sharing their data, their information, and also give you money. So how cool is this? And they're ready to give you all this data for genuinely getting a really good product. This is basically the main incentive. And you understand like who they are, what features they're liking the most, etc. Couple of cool stories I put in here. So this is my friend. He's a very famous designer. His agency became like the agency of the year in design for a couple of times. And he called me once for this product. It was a very cool cup that won all possible medals and awards. And he said, I have this idea. It won all the awards. Let's produce it. Let's invest in it. It's a really cool thing. So we did the pre-launching and understood that nobody really wants it, despite it has all the metrics, all the awards. It went viral, like millions of views, a lot of shares. All the designers were recommending it, but people were not ready to buy it. And then he said, and then I said, like, don't produce it. You'll lose money. Like, people really don't want it. Then I was about to go. Then he pulled up this packaging, which was a cool packaging for honey. And he said, can we like do the pre-launching for this as well? This was my high school project. And we did the pre-launching, and it turns out that it's really, really good. People really, really love it. And it turns out to be a very successful business. Now it's an organic honey, like he's selling 3 times more than the average honey, only because of the packaging. Another case that we had was the Kitty Spring. So they had this product, which was a cat fountain, and they wanted to price it by $29. And we did the validation, and we said, let's increase the price by 50%. And they said, no, people are not ready to buy. We're really afraid, etc. And we showed them the data, and we said, now really people really are ready to buy it at a 50% higher price. And eventually they agreed, and we launched the product, and it did amazingly well. They did about $1 million of sales, and essentially with like 50% more margin. And also the blank mask, we talked about this, like this was an interesting case because nobody really understood what this product is about. And no any agency was ready to take it because nobody believed that this is going to be successful. And after the pre-launch, they took the data and they found a really good agency partner, and they did a very successful launch and build a cool brand. So that's it for today. I don't want to, I'll answer some of the questions. Don't want to keep too much time for validation because we have stuff to speak about the production as well. So do behavioral testing, use the data, and innovate confidently. That was my presentation for today, and let's keep in touch. You can send me requests, connection requests on LinkedIn, send me emails, and if I won't manage to answer some of your questions, do them later on.
Amazing. Thank you, Narek. That was very interesting. We'll be sharing these presentations via email after the probably tomorrow, just in case you want to get that webinar discount and connect with Narek on LinkedIn. We have a few questions. I want to remind everyone, you can ask your questions in the chat, introduce yourselves, tell us what you're working on, ask your questions. Right now, we'll dive straight in with a couple I saw here. What are some common mistakes to avoid when validating a product idea, Narek?
The main mistake we see is that you get insights from people without validating whether they are actual customers or not, right? So a lot of people are just putting down their, their products. They might share in Facebook. They might even share a landing page, and they get straight away to the survey. So they try to gather insights and ideas without actually validating whom they are getting these insights from. So this is the main mistake that I highly recommend to avoid. Like, I first recommend the sequence of validating the concept and validating the customers with the reservation, and only after asking them, what do you think about the product? Because at that stage, you already know that you're talking to your potential customers. You can basically ask them anything. But beforehand, if you ask something, you're really not aware if you're asking to the right person or not.
Of course, great. And on that, Margaret also asked, can you provide examples of successful products that went through validation processes? I know you mentioned a few, but I wonder if there are any others that really stand out to you.
A couple of weeks ago, we launched one of my favorite products. It was an electric motorcycle from former Harley Davidson senior engineer Eric Buell. Although they were in the motorcycle business like for quite long, they did this validation, which helped them to fine-tune the product, to understand the best positioning angles, understand like a lot of nuances, like how much the trunk size should be, who their ideal customers are, why they buy the product, what is their main motivation, etc. So they did it for 8 months. So 8 months they were fine-tuning the data, then validating again and again. And they launched it 3 to 4 weeks ago, and they did amazingly well, like $4 million in a couple of weeks, which was a really good amount for them as their startup.
Great. Okay, thanks for that, Narek. I see there are a couple more questions. If we have time at the end of Nikola's talk, we'll also return to these. If not, we'll definitely answer them via email. So keep the questions coming. These are some great questions here. Miller, Amelia, I see you guys. Don't worry. We'll get to them.
One last thing. I have this gift basically for all the webinar participants. We have this 20% off discount promo code for everybody who would like to use pre-launch. Just screenshot this promo code and use it when you start your validations.
Fantastic. Thank you, Narek. Okay, and so now we know how to validate ideas. What happens next? Nikola, take it away.
Cool. Let me just get a bit familiar with sharing the screen. Dan, everything's good. You guys see it?
You got it. We can see it.
Cool. So just a quick, let's say, word on who I am. Why am I even talking to you? As Dan said shortly, my name is Nikola. I'm a senior business developer at nAO.Design. Personally, I'm like a huge tech enthusiast, and I just can't seem to stop spending money on gadgets and tech and a bunch of like earphones and so on. So what I wanted to add to just the Narek's part of the presentation is, as a design house that does everything from ideation to manufacturing stages, a huge part of what we do is design research. And this is like one of those very important stages that we keep trying to educate like new creators, new entrepreneurs on, and that it's like, it's non-skippable, it's non-negotiable. You have to do it. So you have to go out, you have to talk with people, you have to understand exactly what features you want to present and how your product differs from others. And then I think we linked up, Narek and I'd say many months ago, and just discussed in depth like how this tool that they created can be used to come up and have successful products. Because even as an agency and even as a consultancy that consults basically startups, it's very hard to persuade people not to do something. So we actually had a few projects that failed because they were not, let's say, they were not validated. They were maybe ahead of their time, or they were overloaded with features and the design wasn't there. So like all types of different things that you can pretty much use like pre-launch for. So great tool. As for nAO.Design, we've been in this for far too long. We know hardware, I'd say, inside and out. Obviously, like commercial projects fully developed and designed by nAO.Design, the number is currently sitting at 35, obviously with more projects in the pipeline and a lot more coming soon. But then, we also, a metric that I really like to put out there is that it doesn't matter if you just design or if you just develop, it matters if it's in front of the customer. So we actually built over 3 million units to date. And I just wanted to show you, let's say, a few projects that we've done that will surely be interesting. So you'll see a bunch of wearables, smart homes, IoT devices, and some interesting like sensoring technology that monitors like air quality. So everything that a consumer and end user touches is something that we like to do. So we thought that this would go hand in hand with today's topic. So on screen, you'll see some of our most recent projects in personal computing. We've done like an all-in-one PC and then some laptops, a tablet with a bunch of different accessories, and then like a mini PC. So all of these designs, all the hardware inside is developed by nAO. And this is, I just included this because design-wise, this is one of my favorite projects, and it's actually a three-way partnership. So we actually had a client that wanted to create a smart speaker that also serves as your, let's say, central unit for entertainment and controlling your smart home, and also has like a built-in like voice assistant. So the reason why I love this design is because the client actually, their brand speaks all about time, that time is money. So if you take a look from the side perspective and a side view, we actually put it as a part of a design language to show an analog clock, like a pointer and then a circular shape. So it's very hard to produce, very hard to manufacture. And one of the huge challenges was working with Harman Kardon on the acoustics on this one. So to hit their benchmarks, we actually had to create a new zinc alloy that you see at the bottom. And also, in terms of manufacturing, not only was this like molded, but afterwards it had to be CNC to get this very unique shape of the base. So today's topic will be obviously, let's say, a bit general, and some of our inputs where you can basically put like more attention to manufacturing, how to avoid these very, very costly mistakes. So first, we'll talk about what awaits after validating your concept, and then we'll talk a bit about manufacturing partners and how you can find a reliable one. So everybody is familiar with the hardware development cycle. Let's say it's nothing innovative in terms of you cannot add or remove any stages, but what you can do is you can always innovate and fix things in between. So one of the most important questions in design, but also in hardware development, is to keep asking why. So why is this happening? Why is this? Because just keep asking why at every step of the way, and you should be fine. So, today we'll cover, let's say some of you might be early on in your processes. You might have just a concept, you might have some POCs, prototypes, or you might be even at later stages. But think of hardware development and manufacturing as a gated process, and you can also visualize it as climbing a ladder. So, in some of these stages, you can go up and down, but you should never skip any step here. So it's really, really important to go step by step and pass every gate to make sure that you end up with a successful, mass producible product. So let's say, you've used pre-launch in this example and you've validated your concepts and you're ready to move on. So this is where validation testing, first of all, comes into play. You can think of it as a fancy way of checking if a piece of hardware is up to snuff and is ready to move on to the next stage. So to make this happen, designers and engineers will whip up all sorts of different prototypes, and each stage is like an exciting adventure. It's full of learning, it's full of trying new things, and making tweaks, basically playing around. But the product can only move forward if it meets certain criteria. So we'll go through these stages that you're seeing on your presentation right now. So the prototyping stage, I'd say I'll just go briefly over it. You'll play with a lot of clay and cardboard and foam, wood and 3D printing, and you'll go to machining shops. It's a lot of fun. And it really depends on the product, like which of these you'll use. So, you have focus prototypes, you have, self-explanatory looks like and works like that test certain functionalities of your product. And when your prototype includes all of these requirements and functionalities, it's an engineering prototype. So the main objective of this stage is to basically create an engineering prototypes that works like and looks like your final product, right? So it just needs to prove that tech meets the customer's needs. So obviously that this tech is also feasible to manufacture and that this can be done, right? So the next one, and one of my favorite ones, is the engineering validation tests. So during this, during the prototype stages, we created that alpha prototype, right? So it proved like user desirability. Pre-launch can also help with that. It helped us create like a marketing plan and so on. But at this point, we want to create a beta prototype, and it has like a set of functionalities that you determined by a build matrix. You can Google it. It's not that complicated, but you definitely need one. So beta prototypes, they're designed for manufacturing, and they are your minimum viable products. So you're going to use them for like lab-based user testing, like to communicate with production and tooling. And in the following stages, you're also going to use them to demonstrate in the first sales meetings. So then your sales guys can already whip up some sort of a plan. You're going to do like a make-buy analysis, and you're going to like perform make-buy analysis, and then you're going to do like BOM, and obviously you're going to slowly start setting up like a request for quotation that will later go on to the manufacturer and that will touch. So in terms of electronics, you're going to deal with like hot state PCBs, and you're going to conduct all sorts of different tests like EMI and the power and thermal and so on. So with this stage, I'd say about 10 to 50 units should be enough. And here, what's great is you'll use like soft tooling, so you can gain like production worthy engineering prototypes. And in these stages, we're going to answer questions like, can this product be built? Like what materials, what components are best suited that can be mass produced? So we're already starting to ramp up and think about these very important topics. And also like, what are the engineering challenges that we face? And for every product, it's completely different. So the DVT stage is, I'd say it's where things start to become industrialized. And it's all about getting all the details right before you move towards that ramp up in mass production. And this is like, it's completely marked by experimentation and optimization. And you're also going to keep working on your electronics, your PCBs, to iterate them to perfection. So just keep thinking. It's a gated process. Until I pass this gate, I'm not moving forward. I'm not doing anything. So gate by gate and one step at a time. Like that's the name of the game. Just keep it slow and keep thinking what you want to do. So here you can like do some aluminum molds to just optimize some design and surface finishes and materials tolerances and so on. And here's where you're gonna do a bunch of tests, and here's where you're gonna like do like drop tests, which we all love. We actually have a funny story for the tablet that we produced. For some reason, it went on national news, and the newsman just decided to just randomly drop it to the ground. So I guess that was a sort of a drop test for the tablet. And don't worry, for some reason, it survived the heavy smashing on the floor. So don't forget about certification on this stage, like ULC. It depends on your product, right? And PVT is production validation test, also known as that. And here you're going to do like beta prototype. You're going to take your beta prototype and you're going to do your hard tooling. So obviously we all know when you do hard tooling, there's no backsies on design. So make sure that all those details are done in the DVT stage. So obviously here, like jigs and test fixtures and test benches are gonna already have to be in place before the production actually starts. And here you're just gonna keep optimizing the the production and the assembly lines. And here we're talking about like speed and like operator expertise, scrap rate, and daily yield, stuff like that. So, you know, what can be tricky here and some risks that exist here are like your single source supplies. So make sure that a component is not restricted to like a single contract manufacturer and so on. So just keep that in mind. Also QA and QC, what I can share is that about 80% of like quality control issues stem from bad design. So keep in mind, once again, gated process. And yeah, some questions that we answer here is, can this be manufactured at scale? Are there any issues that arise when we're mass producing? And yeah, we're going to finalize everything for everybody's favorite part, and that's mass production. People often overlook like the importance of getting things right at these like crucial points, and they just want to go and get to the mass production as soon as possible. And we all like have an understanding that our industry is one of the hardest out there. It's also, we're playing with a lot of capital, a lot of different resources, so time and money, and it can be quite stressful because these processes can last anywhere from like 12 to 16 months. For some medical devices, you're going to see like 5-6 years just for prototyping stage. So, you know, one step at a time is definitely the way to go. So, right. So mass production, right? We all know what it is, and we all know like how we would like our products to be, and we all think it might be perfect, but the reality is there's a lot of mistakes that happen during the mass manufacturing. So once again, just to recap all the stages and do what has to be done. So prototyping stages, we're going to prove user desirability and do tons of like user testing, and we get our alpha prototype. In the EVT stage, we already have like a production worthy unit, so-called beta prototype. And DVT, we're going to scale feasibility and start preparing for the launch, and we get some pre-production samples. And then during the PVT stages, you know, we're getting final pieces in place, and we're moving into mass production. So we already have like a commercially viable product. And I didn't touch on like user testing, but every single stage has a different type of user test to help you get to successful product. So I think I can, yeah, just to show just quick picture, but we already went through like the engineering validation tests. I want to show some pictures of different tooling design that we do in nAO.Design. This one is for a smart speaker, and you'll see some negatives and positives. So, you know, tooling is one of those very costly investments, and it should definitely be right. And you should definitely get somebody with experience to try and help you with the tooling. So here you can see an example of that same speaker that went out of the tooling, and how some things looked during the design validation tests. And then, you know, production and mass production are self-explanatory. So QC, obviously tons of different ways to do it, but make sure that you do everything you can to basically do the best quality control of your products. Like this will ensure, we'll think about things like failure rate, for example, here. And if it's over 3%, it's a catastrophe. So this is a numbers game, right? Your production are going to be like 5,000 and up. If it's like 20-30,000 units for production, you know, with over 3% failure rate is going to be very, very impactful. So what we average at, for example, is between 0.4 and let's say 1%, depending on the product, but sometimes even 2% can be very, very acceptable. So it's important we can take a breather here, but and just take a look at the screen. But it's important here to have a clear differentiation of like types of partners you can go after in manufacturing. So once you've done all your validation tests, obviously you will have about 3 options in this case. So an OEM, an ODM, and a contract manufacturer. So, you know, OEM stands for original equipment manufacturer. And here, it's pretty tricky because it can be tricky for the go-to-time market, and it can also be tricky because of some IP issues working with OEMs. In this case, we'll skip the ODMs because this is something that you can use to, let's say, expand your product line. So you found your market fit for one of your products, but let's say you want to move on to let's say just get a few more products in that will work, and you validate it. This is a good way to just, let's say, pick a good solution that exists, like let's say a plant soil sensor, which is, you cannot innovate too much in it, and you can just get an off-the-shelf product to work for you. And then we have contract manufacturers. So contract manufacturer is just somebody that does all the work for you, right? But the hardest part here is you need to understand what type of CM you need, and then so on. So in terms of contract manufacturers, we can differentiate two. First, like we can separate them into two different ones, and that's like HMLV, like high mix, low volume, and high volume, low mix. So what we're gonna go after as, let's say, new creators and startup founders is gonna be like high mix, low volume ones, because the high volume, low mix ones are usually reserved for like Fortune 500s. They have a very low mix, and they specialize in producing just several types of products, like just the smartphone category or just smart speakers. So they have just a few lines set up that can do these things. So keep that in mind. And also the second, let's say, separation is by tiers. So you've all heard about contract manufacturer tiers, and they're usually separated by revenue. So you have like tier 4, their revenue is like below 10 million. And then you have tier 3, they're like between 10 and 100. Tier 2 is between like 100 million and 1 billion. And then tier 1 is like 1 billion. And, everybody wants to go after tier 1s and tier 2s, but I wouldn't say that, it's a necessity to go after like tier 1s and tier 2s. And, for example, if I was, let's say, a startup founder, I would probably look to go for tier 3, but this is not that important. What we want to understand about contract manufacturers goes much more in depth, and we'll go through some of these things that we need to understand about contract manufacturers that will help us determine which one is the best. So on your screen, you'll see some other, let's say, parts that we want to cover. And the first one is like design engineering. So here, we need to understand what our requirements for a contract manufacturer are. And that will be like, do you need design help? Do you need prototyping help? Do you need design for manufacturing assembly, like 2D, 3D CAD models? Like, do you need help with the BOM, the assembly? Like, do you need help with selecting vendors for your different for your product? And that would pretty much cover, let's say, the design and engineering. And in production, let's say, will you continuously be producing? Are you going to do smaller batches? What quantities are you going to produce per year, per quarter, per month? Like, do you need them to do like injection molding? Do you need, because they can work with other tooling houses, and they can work with other service providers that will help you get those, let's say, plastic molds. And you can just think of it as a huge puzzle game, but a contract manufacturer usually has all the puzzle pieces and can help you with everything. So, I'm sorry, I heard something.
Yeah, Nikola, I just wanted to jump in with a quick question and remind you we only really have 3 minutes left. But yeah, there was a question here saying, what are the key considerations when choosing manufacturing partners or facilities?
Okay. Good question. So what you're seeing on the screen, that's it. So you need to understand your requirements, and then you need to understand how you're going to communicate with contract manufacturers. And communication is key. What I want to cover is just when to look for a manufacturer. It's pretty important. So during design, during the design iteration stage is definitely when you want to, let's say, get in touch with them. And the right question is like as early as possible. So don't go too early, don't go too late. Usually design iteration stage is when you want to get in touch. Based on these other components, you will also go for different contract manufacturers. It's important to understand the tiers, the rankings, and the ratings. The rankings is something that you want to do, and the ratings is something that you also want to create in a huge document. So create a document, do all the requirements, then you want to slowly start reaching out to these contract manufacturers and fill in your spreadsheet with different various information and grading these manufacturers on communication, transparency, assembly lines, the like what capabilities they have. You basically want to do like a 360-degree audit of the manufacturing stages of the contract manufacturers. I'm sorry, and you also want to gather info on their like new product introduction processes, tracking systems, and transparency, and so on. So basically, the name of the game is you're going back and forth. And one of the most important things is to, once you've gathered all of your information, you want to create a document that clearly outlines everything. Then you want to slowly start sending requests for proposal to, let's say, your top 3 or top 5 manufacturers, like contract manufacturers. And you also want to send an RFQ document, request for quotation. And this is, I'd say, the most important thing is the contract. When you're negotiating a contract with the CMs, these are the points that definitely need to be in the contract. Everything that isn't will probably be overlooked. So minimum order quantity, key milestones of the project, warranty, IP rating, BOM, FOB cost, non-recurring, engineering costs, manufacturing, equipment, and tooling. All of these need to be in your contract. You'll see a breakdown of, let's say, a full project on your screen and how much of your resources go to which stages. So the research and design are the smallest part of it, but then the MD development that sets you up for manufacturing and the actual manufacturing itself are the biggest chunks, over 85%. So your ideal manufacturing partner should have relevant specialization and should have products that look similar or have produced similar products to yours. So keep communicating with them and ask for as many references they have and previous success stories. We've executed, as you saw, more than 35 projects so far. And I wanted to leave you off with a piece of advice. So markets are getting overflooded left and right with poorly designed and developed products. So commit to quality and be unique. This will help you build your brand, and it will help you have a huge customer satisfaction rate. And overall, it will ensure that you have a successful product in the end. And yeah, it's a hard topic. It's a topic for a lot more minutes. So as part of this, I just wanted to remind everybody that we'll be offering like free consultations. So you have my socials on the screen, and you can obviously reach out at any time so we can dive, let's say, deeper into some of your issues during the manufacturing. And as you saw, it's quite a lot to cover. So yeah, thanks everybody for hearing me out, and I hope that I provided some useful information for everybody.
Thank you so much, Nikola. Yeah, that was fascinating. I'm here on the pre-launch side, validating side. It's very interesting to see what happens next. Thank you so much for that in-depth presentation. We had quite a few questions. I just want to remind everyone that if we don't get to your question, don't worry. We'll send this, a recording of this and the presentation, the slides and answers to everyone tomorrow. But we do have time for 1 or 2 questions. So let's see here. How do you handle unexpected setbacks or delays in the manufacturing process? I'm sure that comes up quite often, no?
Yeah. if you do your validation, you shouldn't have that many issues. Those setbacks need to be worked out with contract manufacturer. They will guarantee that's what you negotiate in the contract. You will put your key milestones, and they will need to abide by them. So that will help you quite a lot.
Okay, great. And Christos here asks about the JIT, the Toyota production system. He says a thorough implementation of these can reduce the fault rate.
Yes, that's true. Toyota was the first one to do it, and that's pretty much how they conquered, let's say, the US market back in the day. Now, a lot more automotive manufacturers have started using it. So yeah, it can be applied in certain situations.
Awesome. And we asked Michael's question already. Narek, are you still here? Yes, amazing. There were a couple questions from before that I wanted to come back to. There was one question about advertising budgets. In terms of the validation process, when there's a low advertising budget of 2,000 pounds, should they continue validating, go into Kickstarter? Kind of what's the advice there?
So I'd advise to continue the validation until you're really confident with the data, and then you go forward with already like with the confidence that you're backed with the data. 2,000 pounds is not that low, so it's enough to get, like, I don't know, 4,000 or 5,000 people on your landing page, very relevant ones. And it's not also only about the paid traffic, so you could try sharing it into the different places, into forums, get covered in the newsletters, etc. So you need to bring some more traffic, and this reservation is a kind of a validation gate. So whoever passes through this validation is kind of validated as a consumer, potential consumer, and then you can ask them surveys, etc. So you get more feedback about it. So my advice would be to definitely continue the validation, because Kickstarter is pretty expensive, and you might be not ready for going for it. So it's better to fine tune it until you launch it there.
And pre-launch, I guess, gets you that extra exposure before you go live. You could get covered, PR, shared organically. Okay, and then there's another question here about from Christos again. Great question. He's developing a general purpose cargo UAV, mainly for SMEs. And he's wondering, like, how niche is this? If this can help him find the right audience, if pre-launch can help him find the right audience. It's a $3,500 price point, and he wants to see if using pre-launch can he find the right vertical, farmers, manufacturers.
So consider this: if you are considering to sell it online later on, for somehow you need to find some audiences. So then in the pre-launch phase, you also need to be able to find the relevant traffic. The price point is okay. We have been validating products for up to $10,000, $15,000. So even people are more enthusiastic to get on board with these more expensive, high price point items. So the incentives is more to provide more feedback, to wait longer, etc. So it's pretty much okay on the price point, and I think it should be good. Should be good kind of product to go on with.
Awesome, thanks. And Nikola, one more for you. Albert asks, how important is it to visit manufacturers in person?
It's a must. I would say it's a must. So if you can do it, if you're in position to do it, and you should do it quite often.
Okay, amazing. Well, thank you, Nikola. Thank you, Narek, and thank you everyone for joining. Do you want to say anything? Say goodbye, Nikola, Narek. Any final words?
This was amazing. Wanted to thank Nikola for joining and sharing all this very, very useful information here. I think many people need this, especially the first-time founders, to not make mistakes. It's really important to hear all this advice. If you like it, we're going to continue this series of webinars. We can try to make it a bit more advanced, share some more advanced data. We wanted to keep it a little on high level. If you have any more questions, you have our emails. Please share it. We're very keen to, provide you feedback, help you succeed, and we all are working to bring really meaningful innovations to life that change people's life for better. Thank you.
Cool. I just say, guys, I hope I didn't drown you, but this is just the tip of the iceberg of everything that happens in manufacturing, let alone in hardware development and design, as you can see.
Thank you, Nikola. Thank you, Narek. They were amazing presentations. We'll send them to all of you via email. Thank you, everyone, for coming. This was amazing, and I really do hope we continue to see you. Have a great day, great evening.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good one.